mengekspor CPO ini terus-terusan. Harus mulai kita rubah kepada barang setengah jadi atau barang jadi.
Pada saat ini upaya koordinatif tersebut telah menggerakkan berbagai program yang meningkatkan produktivitas kebun-kebun milik rakyat. Penelitian dan pengembangan teknologi pertanian sawit yang efektif, efisien, serta berkesinambungan juga untuk mempersiapkan sumber daya manusia perkebunan yang terampil.
Diperlukan tantangan untuk sebuah inovasi. Tantangan untuk membuat Indonesia dan dunia jadi lebih baik.
Bapak Presiden beserta Menko Perekonomian telah memberikan arahan. Kita harus mencari inovasi teknologi terbaru kelapa sawit untuk jadi produk energi terbarukan dan makanan sehat.
Sesuai instruksi Bapak Presiden, sudah waktunya kita tidak hanya berpikir hanya untuk laboratorium saja, tapi juga untuk sesuatu yang lebih besar, yaitu untuk rakyat Indonesia.
Kami percaya kalau kelapa sawit memiliki potensi untuk menjadi sumber energi yang dapat diperbaharui dan menjadi bahan baku yang membawa banyak kebaikan lainnya. Penelitian demi penelitian terus dilakukan. Dan dengan teknologi yang kami miliki, terungkap banyak inovasi yang berasal dari kelapa sawit. Dengan inovasi ini, kami siap untuk membuat Indonesia dan dunia jadi lebih baik. Satu kebaikan akan membawa kebaikan lainnya. Mari kita tuai bersama-sama. Harvesting the Goodness.
Good morning, and a warm welcome from Indonesia. I'm Puspo Edi Giriwono of the Southeast Asian Food and Agriculture Science and Technology, or what we call the CFAST Center of IPB University. And today I'd like to talk about all the health benefits that we can find coming from palm oil. And we begin with all the 17 SDGs that we have to think about for the future generations. And I believe palm oil is a very good solution to all these challenges, especially in today's talk. We'll be talking about the number 2 objective, which is zero hunger. As you can see that we have to face up to 9 billion people in the next 30 years. And in providing the vegetable oils that is required for all these consumers, then we have to think about how can you provide up to or over 225 million tons a year of vegetable oil. And we find that palm oil is probably one of the best answers. As you can see in this particular chart, palm oil only requires 1/8 of the land area to produce the same 1 ton of vegetable oil compared to a commodity such as soybean. And it's no wonder that we find up to 35% at the moment of the whole global supply for vegetable oils is actually produced from palm oil. And it would become naturally to find more and more palm oil providing all these vegetable oils in the near future. And so I'd like to touch on what is unique about palm oil, especially its fatty acids composition. As you can see, at room temperature, palm oil is divided into 2 phases, a liquid phase and also a solid phase. And this is due to, if you have a look at that table, it contains a balance between saturated fatty acids or palmitate. There it's written as C16, and also a balance with unsaturated fatty acids or C18 with that number 1. And that is what we call an oleic acid. And because of this particular balance, then at room temperature, again, palm oil can be divided into 2. The solid fraction can be used to produce foods such as margarines and shortenings, and the liquid part can then be refined to give you the vegetable oil that we all like. And if we pay attention to what are the fatty acids compositions inside palm oil, you can see that it contains 44% of palmitic, so that is C16 as saturated fatty acids, and also unsaturated omega-9, or there is a C18 with one unsaturated bond known as oleic acid. And if you know your fatty acids, then you are all after the omega-9s, because we know all the health benefits coming from consuming high amounts of omega-9. And we can find this in palm oil. So it's no wonder that we find all these clinical studies in this particular table. I've included a couple of results, for example. We find all those studies involving clinical trials, also looking into epidemiological data, where when you compare palm oil consumption with any other vegetable oils, we find, to your most right column, you find that there is no difference when it comes to producing, or when it comes to resulting in the blood cholesterols. So this would show, without any doubt, that palm oil will result in the same amount or the same levels of blood total cholesterols compared to any other vegetable oils, including olive oil. Now, if you are concerned about what kind of cholesterols are we talking about, and we understand that there are bad cholesterols, such as LDL cholesterols, then this particular table will show you that even palm oil, or the consumption of palm oil, will result in the similar levels of LDL cholesterols as compared to olive oil. So I'd like you to think about that. Because of those omega-9s in the palm oils, we understand that palm oil is actually as healthy as consuming olive oil. But it does not stop there, because palm oil also contributes to the health and nutrition when it comes to infants and young children, or here, pediatric health. We see that the human milk is a complete nutrition, and it's very much perfect for the newborn, for the infants, and that is why the WHO always recommends exclusive human milk for the first 6 months of life. And this table shows what those fatty acids composition looks like in human milk. Again, for those of you with the keen eyes, you can find that number 2, it contains up to 25% of palmitic acid. And the other ones, saturated fatty acids, are even higher. And so all the manufacturers, they have understood this. And if you can compare what are the fatty acid lipid profiles of human milk on the left, this can be matched with the formulas that are produced by manufacturers only if you add palm oil. As you can see in the right graph, there it's symbolized as PO with a yellow color. Without that PO and yellow color, without adding palm oil to the mix, then it's very difficult for manufacturers, for food manufacturers, to produce infant formula which is very similar to the complete and the perfect human milk. So we understand this, and I recommend you to ask your favorite infant formula manufacturers or other milk manufacturers to ask them, is it true, is it essential that palm oil is added to infant formulas to resemble as closely as possible to the human milk? And so we can move on to the next health benefits and contributions from palm oil, which is addressing vitamin A deficiencies that we find all over the world. This table shows that palm oil contains all these antioxidants, especially in the forms of carotenoids or provitamin A. And it contains quite high amounts, reaching up to 700 milligrams per kilograms. And we understand that at the moment, the world over, we find prevalences of vitamin A deficiency in children. Now, this map shows those countries that are highlighted in red. They are undergoing very high prevalence of vitamin A deficiency. You can find swathes of countries in Africa and also in South Asia. But I also pointed out with that particular arrow, the country Nigeria. Now, this is very important because we understand throughout the generations, people in Nigeria have incorporated red palm oil into their diets, into their daily cuisines, and that is why you see low prevalence of vitamin A deficiency in Nigeria. So these are empirical, anecdotal evidence that shows red palm oil especially is a solution when it comes to dealing with vitamin A deficiency. And thus, these are two examples of the papers showing the effectivity and also the potential use of those red palm oils in addressing vitamin A deficiencies. And I believe this is a very good solution. We are taking what is natural, we are incorporating them into supplements or into the food, daily needs, and we can prevent vitamin A deficiencies. And now we can move on to other benefits and also other health benefits coming from palm oil. And this is in the form of another phytochemical, which is high in abundance of vitamin E. And the vitamin E's that we find are in the forms of alpha tocopherol and also tocotrienol, as you can see in that table, reaching up to 800 milligrams per kilogram. Now, vitamin E has a very high antioxidative properties. And when you apply that to supplements or to therapies or to prevention programs, then we can try to prevent diseases such as neurodegenerative diseases. Or in this paper, it was applied to see whether vitamin E tocotrienols from palm oil can actually prevent the formations of lesions in the brains of the elderly. And we can find in the graphs to your right, you can see the black graphs or the black bars where it's very low. That indicates lower lesions or lower damages to the brains of these elderlies after 1 to 2 years of tocotrienol, palm oil tocotrienol consumptions. And so we can definitely see in humans when they are provided these vitamin E's coming from palm oil, palm oil helps to prevent these brain lesions and also neurodegenerations in the elderly. But not only that, because the same vitamin E mix, for example, alpha tocopherol and also tocotrienol rich fractions, TRF there, we can find them reducing the amounts of oxidative stress as measured by MDA. That is the upper graph you can find there. MDA itself, as malonaldehyde, is one form or one indicator of oxidative stress. And we can find that after 3 months and also 6 months of consumption of these vitamin E's, and we can find significant reductions in all these oxidative stress. And similarly or subsequently, you can find reductions in the DNA damage from the cells. This was taken from whole blood. So all the cells within the blood in circulations and so on, they can all be prevented from their DNA damage by those vitamin E. And this particular table, this shows you all the mechanisms how vitamin E is observed to prevent cancer and how it can treat cancer These are some of the experiments. They are still cellular experiments, but it shows good potential in the future, where tocotrienols and also mixtures of tocotrienols, especially coming from palm oil, it can help and will be used in the therapies and also the preventions of cancer. And so I'd like to summarize my brief talk. So the first one is that have confidence. So there's no need to fear about palm oil. Objectively, and I've shown you the scientific data, palm oil is an excellent source of safe and also here vegetable oil that contains all these health benefits. And when we think ahead, palm oil is very important in efficiently providing the vegetable needs of the future generations, future demands. The next one is that, remember, palm oil also contains a balanced amount of oleic acid or omega-9 fatty acids. And we understand that this is one of the healthiest forms of fats or lipids, the omega-9s. And that is why all those clinical studies have shown palm oil shows similar outcome to other vegetable oils, including olive oils, when it comes to the cholesterols that we find in our blood. The next one is that palm oil contains a unique compositions in its fatty acids. And this is very important when we try to formulate infant formulas for pediatric health as closely resembling human milk. Palm oil is very essential in the formulations to give you the complete, or to give the infants complete nutritional requirements. And that is why at the moment, without palm oil, it's very difficult to produce formulas which would resemble human milk. It could be even very expensive in doing so. And the next one are the phytochemicals that we find in palm oil. So the high amounts of carotenoids, provitamin A. It has been shown to effectively address vitamin A deficiencies in children in many countries. And also the vitamin E's that we find in high concentrations because of its high antioxidative capacities. It's very important, or it shows effective effects in preventing neurodegenerative diseases, oxidative stress, and hopefully we can find more good news in the future when it comes to anti-cancer and also trying to deal with cancer coming from these vitamin E. So I think I'd like to close my talk today with my message. I'm a scientist, and I advise you, as scientists, we say, look at the objective scientific data. We find all these scientific data showing that there is nothing wrong with palm oil. In fact, it shows you and it gives you all these health and nutritional benefits. And there are still many more potentials coming from palm oil. So there is no reason to hate or to fear or to be anti-palm oil from all these scientific data. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask any of us. And also, I hope we can meet someday in person, so then we can discuss a lot more what is the science behind all these health benefits coming from palm oil. And with that, thank you.